My husband humiliated me at dinner, so I exposed his secret in front of everyone. At a dinner party, my husband mocked me in front of his coworkers and said I was nothing without him. So I revealed the one secret he begged me never to tell. And in less than 5 minutes, his entire life collapsed. My name is Elena Carter, and until last year, I believed I had a pretty normal marriage. My husband, Marcus, and I had been together for almost 9 years. From the outside, we looked like the perfect couple, a nice house, good careers, and the kind of life people usually envy. But what people didn't see was how Marcus loved being the center of attention, even if it meant humiliating me. At first, it was small things, little jokes at parties, comments about how I was too sensitive or how I couldn't survive without him. Everyone would laugh, and Marcus would put his arm around me afterward and say, "Relax, babe, it's just a joke." For years, I tried to ignore it, but the night everything changed started with what was supposed to be a simple dinner. Marcus had invited a few of his coworkers and their spouses to our house. It was some kind of celebration for a promotion he had recently gotten at his firm. I spent the entire day preparing, cooking, cleaning, decorating the dining table. I made Marcus's favorite dishes, roasted chicken, garlic mashed potatoes, and homemade tiramisu. By the time the guests arrived, everything looked perfect. Marcus walked in with them, laughing loudly like he always did when he wanted to impress people. "Everyone, this is my wife, Elena," he said, gesturing toward me like I was part of the furniture. His coworkers smiled politely. One of them, Daniel, said, "Marcus talks about you all the time." I smiled back, not realizing yet that it wasn't going to be a compliment. Dinner started smoothly. People were laughing, talking about work, and drinking wine. Marcus seemed to be enjoying the attention. Then one of his coworkers complimented the food. "This is amazing," a woman named Carla said. "You're lucky, Marcus." Marcus chuckled and leaned back in his chair. "Oh, Elena has plenty of time to cook." I frowned slightly. "What do you mean?" Daniel asked. Marcus took a sip of wine and smirked. "Well, let's just say Elena's career never really took off." Everyone laughed awkwardly. My stomach tightened. Marcus continued. "She tried starting a design business once," he said, shaking his head dramatically. "Lasted about 3 months." More laughter. My cheeks burned. Yes, I had started a small interior design business years ago, and yes, it had failed, but hearing my husband mock it in front of strangers felt like a punch to the chest. I forced a smile. "Marcus," I said quietly, but he wasn't done. "Oh, come on," he said. "You know it's true. If it weren't for me paying the bills, we'd probably be living in a studio apartment somewhere." The table went silent for a moment. Someone chuckled nervously. And that's when something inside me finally snapped, because what Marcus had just said was a lie. A huge one, and he knew it. I stood up slowly. My hands were shaking, but my voice was calm. "Marcus," I said. He looked at me with that same smug smile. "What?" I looked around the table at all the guests watching us. Then I said the one thing Marcus never expected. "That's funny," I said, "because I thought we agreed not to talk about money in front of people." Marcus's face faded slightly. "What are you talking about?" I crossed my arms. "Well, if we're sharing stories tonight, maybe we should tell the whole story." The room had gone completely silent now. Marcus laughed nervously. "Elena, sit down. Don't make this weird." But I didn't sit down. Instead, I looked at Daniel and Carla. "Did Marcus tell you who actually owns our house?" They glanced at Marcus. Marcus's face had gone pale. "Elena," he said through clenched teeth. But I continued. "Or who paid off his student loans?" Now the confusion around the table was obvious. Carla asked carefully, "Marcus said he worked really hard to buy the house." I smiled slightly. "Yes, he worked hard." I paused. But the down payment came from my investment account. Marcus slammed his glass on the table. "Stop!" But I wasn't finished. "And the design business he likes to joke about?" I added. "It failed because I sold it." The guests looked shocked. "Sold it?" Daniel asked. Yes, I said, for $480,000. Marcus looked like he had just been slapped. You're exaggerating, he snapped. I tilted my head. Am I? Then I walked to the living room cabinet. Inside was a folder I had kept for years, not because I planned revenge, but because Marcus always liked rewriting history. I came back to the table and placed the folder in front of him. Go ahead, I said. Marcus didn't move. Daniel looked curious and opened the folder slightly. Inside were documents, bank transfers, contracts, proof. Daniel looked at Marcus slowly. Marcus, is this real? Marcus said nothing. The silence said everything. Carla looked at me with wide eyes. So you funded the house? Yes. And the student loans? Yes. And his startup investment? Yes. Marcus stood up suddenly. Elena, that's enough. But I was calm now, because for the first time in years, I wasn't embarrassed. He was. Marcus tried to laugh it off. Okay, he said. She helped a little. I shook my head. No, Marcus. I looked him directly in the eyes. I didn't help. I built the safety net you've been standing on. The room felt heavy. No one knew what to say. Finally, Daniel stood up. Well, we should probably be getting going. One by one, the guests gathered their things, but before leaving, Carla walked over to me quietly. I'm sorry, she said, for laughing earlier. I smiled gently. It's okay. Marcus didn't say a word while they left. When the door finally closed, he turned to me with anger burning in his eyes. You humiliated me. I stared back. No, Marcus, you humiliated yourself. That dinner was the beginning of the end. Over the next few weeks, Marcus tried to pretend nothing had happened, but something between us had broken. Eventually, I realized something important. A husband who needs to make you look small is afraid of how big you really are. 3 months later, I filed for divorce. And the funniest part? Marcus had to move out of the house because legally, it was mine. Some people think humiliation is funny until the truth walks into the room, and suddenly the joke isn't so funny anymore. He ran his hands through his hair. You wouldn't understand. This deal could make us millions. I stared at him. Us? I leaned forward. Marcus, the money you invested? That was my savings. He didn't respond, and that silence told me everything. Over the next few weeks, things got worse. Marcus became distant, defensive. Sometimes he didn't even come home. But then one afternoon, something happened that changed the entire situation. I received another phone call, this time from Daniel. Elena, I think you need to know something. My heart started racing. What is it? He lowered his voice. Marcus is about to get fired. What? Daniel sighed. The company found out he lied on his promotion application. My mind went blank. Lied about what? Daniel hesitated. He claimed he was the main investor behind a successful design startup. I closed my eyes slowly. The same startup Marcus always mocked. The same one he told everyone had failed. My startup. Marcus had taken credit for it. 2 days later, Marcus lost his job. Just like that. 9 years of pretending to be someone he wasn't? Gone. When he came home that night, he looked completely broken. Elena, he said quietly. I didn't answer. I messed up. I watched him carefully. For the first time, Marcus looked small. Not arrogant, not confident, just desperate. I need your help, he said. I stared at him. You mean the same help you mocked me for? He didn't respond. And in that moment, I realized something. Marcus never respected me. He only respected what I could give him. A week later, I met with a lawyer. Not because I wanted revenge, but because I wanted my freedom. 3 months after that dinner, I filed for divorce. Marcus tried to fight it at first, but when the financial records came out, he knew he couldn't win, because almost everything we owned was legally mine. Marcus once joked that without him, I'd probably be struggling somewhere. The truth? Without me, he had nowhere to live at all. 2 days later, Marcus lost his job, just like that. 9 years of pretending to be someone he wasn't? Gone. When he came home that night, he looked completely broken. "Elena," he said quietly. I didn't answer. I messed up. I watched him carefully. For the first time, Marcus looked small, not arrogant, not confident, just desperate. "I need your help," he said. I stared at him. "You mean the same help you mocked me for?" He didn't respond. And in that moment, I realized something. Marcus never respected me. He only respected what I could give him. A week later, I met with a lawyer, not because I wanted revenge, but because I wanted my freedom. 3 months after that dinner, I filed for divorce. Marcus tried to fight it at first, but when the financial records came out, he knew he couldn't win, because almost everything we owned was legally mine. Marcus once joked that without him, I'd probably be struggling somewhere. The truth? Without me, he had nowhere to live at all. The divorce process moved faster than I expected. Marcus tried to delay it at first. He hired a lawyer and suddenly started acting like he wanted to save the marriage. But I knew the truth. He didn't want to save the marriage. He wanted to save his lifestyle. Because after losing his job and the failed investment, Marcus had almost nothing left. And for the first time in our relationship, he needed me. But this time, things were different. 3 months after filing the papers, we finally sat across from each other in a quiet courtroom. Marcus looked tired. Not the confident man who once laughed at me in front of his coworkers. Now he looked nervous. His lawyer kept whispering things to him as he flipped through documents. My lawyer, Rachel, leaned toward me and spoke calmly. "Just stay quiet and let the paperwork speak." And she was right, because the documents told a story Marcus couldn't argue with. The house? In my name. The investment account? Funded mostly by my money. Even the car Marcus drove every day had been purchased from my savings. When the judge finished reviewing everything, he looked directly at Marcus. "Mr. Carter, based on these records, the majority of these assets belong to your wife." Marcus's shoulders slumped, and just like that, the illusion he had built for years collapsed. After the hearing, Marcus followed me into the parking lot. "Elena, wait." I stopped, but didn't turn around immediately. When I finally looked at him, I saw something I had never seen before. Fear. "Please," he said quietly, "we can fix this." I stared at him. "Fix what?" "Our marriage." I almost laughed. "Marcus, you spent years trying to make me look small." He shook his head desperately. "I was joking." "No," I replied calmly. "You were showing everyone who you really were." For a moment, he didn't know what to say. Then he whispered something that surprised me. "I lost everything." I looked at him carefully, and then I said the one thing I had waited years to say. "You didn't lose everything, Marcus. You threw it away." 6 months later, life slowly became peaceful again. The house felt quieter, but also lighter. I reopened my interior design business, the one Marcus used to laugh about. This time, things were different. Clients started coming in quickly. Word spread, and within a few months, the business grew bigger than it ever had before. One afternoon while I was working in my office, my assistant walked in. "Elena, there's someone asking about a job interview." I looked up from my laptop. "Who?" She checked the clipboard. "Marcus Carter." For a moment, I thought I heard wrong. But then I saw him through the glass door of the office. Marcus, standing there awkwardly, wearing an old suit, looking completely out of place. The final moment. I walked out into the waiting area. Marcus stood up when he saw me. For a second, neither of us spoke. Then he said quietly, "I didn't know this was your company." I smiled slightly. "It's okay." He looked embarrassed. "I just needed a job." I nodded slowly. "Marcus, I hope you find one." His face fell slightly. "So you won't hire me?" I looked him in the eyes, and I answered honestly, "No." There wasn't anger in my voice, just clarity, because some people deserve second chances, but some people only understand consequences. Marcus nodded slowly and walked toward the door. Before leaving, he turned back once. "Good luck with the business," he said. I smiled politely. "Thanks." And just like that, he walked out of my life. Years ago, Marcus once joked at dinner that without him, I'd probably be struggling somewhere. But life has a funny way of revealing the truth, because in the end, the woman he tried to humiliate in front of everyone became the one person he had to ask for a job, and the joke was never on me. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe my channel.